Okay guys, there is no need to lock the engine up, of course, to undo this nut here, 36mm I believe, 36mm. You just need a really good big impact drill. I put my little one on it and it just didn't do a thing, so I've had it soaking for a couple of days, had a bit of a hiatus, so I've had the old WD-40 on it, let it soak for a while, and then I put the impact on it, and I have just loosened it slightly, so it's starting to come undone. I'll do it on camera now, make sure that I've got it on the correct one. I'm not going to do it back up again. So that's now coming undone. Still too tough. Boom. Good timing for the compressor to come on. So there it is. It's out. Next step is to get that pulley off the crankshaft. That'll be the next bit. Alright, so I thought I would possibly need a puller to get this off, which you may do, and you need quite a large 3 or 2 prong puller. However, I had a little bit of a look at it and I thought I'll bring my friend Jimmy into the equation, and I placed it down here against the bracket for the alternator, and I just gently, with virtually very little force at all, I just pried just that little bit from behind, and you can see it moving there, and I've just almost got it all the way off. It's at least halfway. Let's see if I can show you that. You can see there, it's about halfway off already, so no need to go and purchase a large puller. I've got a small and a mid-range 3-claw puller, but I don't have a large one that will get around this and fit over the back, because it's quite a big piece, this. But that's going to come out no problem. Oops. So I'll just set this up. Let's see if I can go down here, being very, very, very careful. Actually, I might even go with my smaller pry bar. Be very, very careful if you're pressing up against your casing at all, your block at all. Be very careful. It's going to need a little bit more prying, but I dare say it's going to come off. Ouch! Have all my fingers that get squished then. And it's off. And I was careful not to spray any CRC at the back of it, because I really wanted to find out whether I've got a leak there. And what do you reckon? Does that look like a leak there? Does to me. Some fairly clean oil there too, by the look of it, which is a good sign, because that means then there is a leak. So I've already ordered this part here, this seal. I've already ordered that, so they're all on their way. The last time I checked, these weren't leaking, but now that I look at it with the crank off, there's a little bit of seepage there. Question is, has that come from this leak and maybe just being thrown around a little bit by the pulley? Mind you, the pulley at the back is pretty dry. It's pretty dry around there, so that's a bit doubtful. I have a funny feeling that these bearings have, well, I know they have a seal, an oil seal behind them, at least behind the front one. So it's potential that both of those seals could be leaking, which is a bit of a bummer because I haven't ordered those seals, but I may be able to, being it's a Monday public holiday here today in Australia, so it's still, technically it's still I believe Sunday in the UK, so I might be able to get online and add them onto my order. Question is, do I replace those bearings? I think they're about $10 Australian each. They're really not that expensive. Actually, I think that's the inner ones. I think the outer ones are much more expensive. I think the outer bearings, from memory, are about $140 Australian each. So question is that leak there coming from that bearing? Should I say that seal? It's potentially yes. It's not that big a deal to do them. It's just taking off the belts and doing that nut and removing the pulleys. Yeah, I'll have to go investigate a little bit more first before I come up with a definitive answer on that one. I don't really want to go spending I shouldn't necessarily have to replace the bearings in here. Question is, you know, you've got it out. Do you do it while you're there? Because there's a big difference between, you know, a $4 seal, or should I say a £4 seal, compared to a 70-pound bearing. So there's a big difference in the cost of the job. But yes, I'll have to investigate that a little bit more. It's definitely one of these. This one here is definitely leaking. I'm pretty confident in that, which I'm pleased about, because you go the trouble of taking off this this pulley. At least you find what you need to find. Just be careful, there's a Woodruff key on this shaft. You can probably see it there in shot. I can't see it with my eye, but in the camera I can see it. Just be careful that doesn't fall out and you lose it. I have ordered a new one of those, so I think I'll put a new one on. They're about $3. They're very cheap, so you might as well put a new one in. Anyhow, I'm going to have some more thinking about that, and I will get back to you with what I'm going to do about these pulleys. So what I'm going to do to get this seal out is I'm going to drill 3 holes. One here, one down here, and one about there. Okay, so one about here, so in a triangle, alright. And might even put it there, just depends, I'll see how I go. But there's going to be 3 holes. Then I'm going to get 3 self-tapping wood screws. I'm going to screw them into those holes, and then I'm going to pull on them, and hopefully I'm going to get this seal out. So it's going to be a bit hard because I've got the camera right in front of me right now, so it's going to be a bit hard to do that accurately, get these in and drill the holes with the camera right where it is. So I'm going to move the camera back and reposition it, hopefully so you can still see what I'm doing. There we go, and hopefully my head won't get in the way. I shall be back. Okay, so I think it might be a really good idea to give it a bit of a center punch. just that little bit. Just so it holds your drill a bit where you need it. Now you don't want to go too deep, you just want to put a hole in it. So I'm using it, there we go, I'm in. So you want to go in and then stop. And then I'm using a 3.5mm drill bit and what appears to be about a 4 to 5mm self-tapping screw. There it is. So that one felt pretty good. So I'm just going to pull him out, it's not in the way, and do my other two holes. So I'll get the other two done, I'll put the screws in, I'll come back. Well, the screw idea, there's my result. Pulling with pliers, bent 2 screws, snapped this one twice. Actually pulled that off with a pair of pliers. That's how hard this thing is in. So I had to come up with another idea. So I made myself a makeshift slide hammer. Bit of steel, bit of old rod, threaded rod that I had. So I put this is one of my old sockets, this isn't one of my good ones, but nevertheless I'd probably still use one. I put that's a 32mm socket on there just to give a bit of clout, and I've made a little hook at the end that hooks in, okay, and as you can see I've already pulled it out down the bottom here and I'm pulling it out the top. Now what I'm doing is got my good friend Gimpy and I'm coming in like this and I'm just sliding it down there and bang, hitting that there and holding this bar with one hand to steady it and then pulling that down and just hitting it, and it's working. So yeah, anyway, improvise, adapt, overcome. So I'm going to pull that out and then come back to you. There we go, 5 more hits and one front main. Pretty knackered, but anyhow that worked. So my homemade little slide hammer, which there's the end of it there, which I intend on keeping, because you never know when I'm going to need that little sucker again, because that worked really well. You need to put a bit of weight on it down this end, you know, so when your hammer's bashing it. This is pretty heavy, this bar here, it's pretty heavy too. But yeah, put a bit of weight on it and use the hammer and belt this end, and it worked. Alright, time to put the new one in. Pretty mangled. Spring gets damaged obviously when you drill those holes. Not a big fan of that drill one, but you got to drill in anyway to actually get to the get in behind it, of course, if you're not taking the front cover off. Alright, I'll be back. Okay guys, I'm back. I'm ready with my seal, my new seal. I'll just back that off a bit. I always get the wrong way. There we go. Okay, so it's the best camera view I can give you, I'm sorry. So I've cleaned it out, given it a good clean out of there, given it a good wipe with a rag. So next step will be to make sure you've got something you can tap it in with. So I'm using this, I can't remember what diameter it is, but it's just a piece of pipe, poly pipe. Looks to be something like around 70mm, but I can't remember, but it is, once again I'll back that out. It is exactly, or not exactly, but it fits nicely a couple of mil, like that's there. I'll see if I can get it centered and show you. Can you see that? There's a bit of a ring around, right around. Okay, but it's, and I'll show you the inside of it. sure if the camera will be able to see that. But yeah, you can see there, it's not on the rubber. It's on the metal part, so it's staying on that metal part. I forget the diameter of that. If I remember, I'll put it in. So I also need some 3-in-1 oil, and you can use any motor oil, that's fine. I'm just using that for simplicity. And this little block here that I use to jack up one of my cars with the trolley jack. So this is just so it's going to cover that entirely and tap it in. Yeah, it's from my old i20, one of my instructor's cars. So what I'm going to do now is put a bit of oil. First thing I'm going to do is I'm just giving it a wipe. Check my spring is in there. Yes, there is a spring in there. Give a little blowout with the compressor. Making sure that it's clean. Boy, the other one was hard to get out. I don't know what they've used, but I was originally going to take the entire front cover off, do the bearings in here, which after I've had the cam belts off for a while and played around with them, kind of felt they weren't really that bad. I've replaced these two nuts. I do have some original type with a special tool. I ordered 4 and they gave me 2 of these and 2 of the original ones. I actually ordered 4 of the original ones. You don't spend $100 on a tool and not want to use it. But anyhow, I believe these are like about a 24mm nuts, so these are easy to get on and off, I must admit. However, if I go to replace the bearings in there, then I've got 2 brand new OEM style nuts that I'll go on with my tool. So next step is I'm just going to put a bit of oil around. Don't want too much, but just doesn't really matter, to be honest. You're just putting just a little bit of oil around, and just a little bit on the inside so it slides on the bearing, on the shaft nicely. And you want to put it in and nice and square, get it over that shaft, and take your time with this part. Like all seals, try and seat them, try and get them looking as square as possible. You can put a ruler in there if you want to and just measure the distance here and here to the face. I don't think it's overly necessary, but if you want to go that far you can. Now I'll just get in close to that so you can see it. So it's all fairly even all the way around. Oops, there we go. And now I'm going to try and get in there. I'll get my buffet in the way and put this seal in. Wish me luck. So that's going to sit over the top, and then I'm going to put that over there like that. I could probably tape those together, to be honest, and then I'm going to tap it in, trying to keep that as square as possible. And I'm just checking because I'm feeling it go in. It's a bit hard to see with this block on there. I'm just wondering whether I can, it'll be easier for me just to tap it around. Okay, so I'm going to be taking my time with that. You can see what I'm doing. I'm going to take my time with that. I won't bore you. I'll come back once it's in. Okay, there it is. How's that look to you guys? Looks pretty good. It's pretty even all the way around. It's down by about, like it's sunk below the face by about, I guess, 1 millimetre. And it's pretty even all the way around. You see there's about 1 millimetre. There you see that very edge. If I get my finger in it. No. So I'm talking about that there, that tiny edge there. So all the way around, it's about the same depth. You don't want to be hitting them too hard. You know, just little light taps as you go around. Tap this side, tap around in a circle, tap around back, have a look at it, see which are the high points. Tap on the high points only, you know, sort of, it'll go in. They don't have to go in 100% perfect, as in perfectly flat and square. You know, you can manipulate them slightly. They are designed to slightly crush a little bit, you know, the edges, you know, as it comes in, it'll come in a little bit like that, but only a very small amount. But a little bit of lubrication and in it goes. All right, now I've just got to put the crank back on. That's not too much of an issue. All right, I'll be back. Okay, I'm just putting the crank pulley on. Just make sure you've got your key steel lined up, and then it should go on most of the way, and then just bring the old rubber persuader. Just bring it in. Checking behind, making sure that nothing's touching at the back there. It's all good. Feels like it's gone home. And it's not going in any further. So you can see there, it's just maybe 2 millimeters of lip there on the actual pulley. So the pulley's a little bit proud of the shaft. I think once I torque it up, it'll pull it in snug. You want to just make sure your belts are lined up. This front belt, this front part, I think, for the air conditioner. So the alternator one is this one here. So I'd probably put the alternator one on, connect that one up, make sure it's all nice and square before trying to start it. Make sure that this is running nice and square with this pulley here, these two. Okay. Right, I'm going to continue to bash that a little bit more and then put the nut in. Definitely not going anywhere. So nut, and I've seen a price of these. These are worth a fortune. These are like 100 Australian dollars for one of these. So whatever you do, don't damage yours. So I've written on there, I was just wondering which way this goes, and I've actually written on the crank side, so I don't even remember writing it, but it's my writing. Oh, it's such a big nut. and I've got large fingers trying to fit it all in there. Not easy. Okay, now impact wrench just with a little bit, just a tweak. Okay, that's on pretty good. I'm just going to check the pulley alignments, and then I'll check the torque on that. Okay, I better be quick, my battery's about to get flat on the camera. I've checked the torques, it's 147 foot-pound. That's what I've got on my torque wrench right now. And I'm going to torque that up to that. And my cans a little bit.